Hello, I'm Jane. I'm the project manager at Trent Dementia. We host the Nottingham Deep Support Hub, where we're helping deep groups set up across Nottingham. Talking to people in the network at various events, it became clear that many people are facilitating groups independently and are sharing similar challenges, which can be really isolating.
At the end of the pilot, a few facilitators came together to talk about the outcomes, and also we talked about why we were facilitators in the Deep network.
So I'm Dory and I'm part of the Deep and Deeside Deep group. We all sort of facilitate together, and it's important that people meet peers, get support and have fun.
I am a facilitator because I want to encourage people living with dementia to be heard, share and become involved. Most of all, I learn from them. Okay.
I'm a facilitator. It gives me a buzz being with people who are able to live as well as they can with their dementia.
To make a difference and to help people to help themselves.
I'm a facilitator because it makes me happy for others to be able to achieve their ambitions and to live well with dementia.
Hi, I'm Julie, and I'm a facilitator because I care deeply about advocacy and because young dementia needed a voice in my area.
In my work as a clinical supervisor, I've come to see the value of peer support, and I worked with Rachel Niblock to design this pilot project. We hope to learn about some of the key challenges faced by facilitators and think about how we can support each other using Zoom, an online meeting space.
Hi, this is Rachel Niblock. I'm one of the DEEP coordinators. I'd like to thank Dr. Jane Rowley and all at Nottingham Trent Dementia for pulling together this project at a very short notice really, but really consolidating what for me has been a life-changing 3.5 years in my role as facilitator of the Deep Network, which has been a real honour and a real privilege, but also really tough. I think the key is that Deep Network is about the voices of people living with dementia. And in the 3.5 years, there's been a tremendous growth of interest in being part of the Deep Network. And I guess reflecting on the last 3.5 years, I think that there has been growth and there also has been a real greater commitment to capturing the voices of people living with dementia. I think we're still in danger of just hearing from a select few, and I think that going forwards, what we really aspire to within the network is that we can hear more from people who don't necessarily feel comfortable on standing up on the bigger stage, but feel the comfort and the unity and the security and the comfort of their own groups to have a voice. And I think these are the voices that we need to really amplify and make sure are out that, which kind of leads me really to the real importance of the facilitators within the network. And I think going forward, the relationship that I will be having as coordinator is more with the facilitators rather than the individuals within the groups, because facilitators are absolutely key to the success of this Deep Network. Facilitators know the individuals within the groups and they know the dynamics within the groups. And if we're looking at the network sharing widely what each group is doing, again, the facilitators are so key in doing that. So in our busy lives, I know it's really hard to find the time, and it's really hard to recognise that you need support in your role, but I think that's what we really want to do. We want to offer greater support and peer support to facilitators. I think it's needed, and I think that if we open up the conversations between facilitators, then I think the network is going to be much richer.
13 facilitators across the network contributed to meetings and shared some of their thoughts and experiences. This was a mix of group members who were also facilitating groups, professionals and volunteer supporters. Participation in the DEEP network can be full of joy, adventure and new experiences. But the other side to this can lead to people becoming overwhelmed with tasks, repeated requests or offers to participate in activities and being unsure how to manage these. Peer support can offer an opportunity to share both the joy and the challenges with others. This project was for facilitators, but there is a firmly established Ladies Live Zoomettes group and a growing men's group, and many of the guidelines we offer could be applied to new groups on any topic. Practically, it was useful to have a facilitator or organiser to set up the meetings and circulate information to everyone, also to keep time. We wondered if people could take it in turns to take responsibility for this, so there wasn't pressure on one person. We followed guidelines from DEEP and used the I want to speak cards for those on videos, and this worked well. If you didn't want to be on video, which we found really useful, but I listened and that must have been quite frustrating on the phone then.
It was harder, definitely.
Yeah.
I had to kind of keep track or see who was there or anything like that, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a little bit easier for you, hopefully, that you can see. We agreed to basic ground rules about confidentiality, and we also gained consent for audio and visual recording. We talked about where and how people participated, using a phone, using a computer, being in a room on your own if possible, and using headphones.
In terms of ground rules for this one, I think the yellow cards is a great thing. And also I think just that kind of, I know it's being recorded, etc., but within the group to kind of have that confidentiality that whatever we talk about, we know stays within the group.
Yeah.
One of the things that occurred to me after our meeting on Monday was the fact that you don't know who else is around. So like I could have anyone in this house that could be listening to what we're doing. So I think it's really important that you're in a private space for the meeting or whatever. I don't know how you would do that, but you know, so you've not got other people that are just wandering around and could be potentially listening in and trying to keep quite confidential.
Yes.
I don't know how you word that, but it just occurred to me.
Maybe phones might be a thought. That would certainly keep what's being spoken about private.
There was a consensus that we could arrange some closed groups that meet regularly and build relationships, having general conversations. And alongside this, people wanted to suggest themes for open meetings that any facilitator could attend and share experiences that were relevant to them.
It might be useful to have a theme identified, maybe that changes from one meeting to the next, just so that you know that the next meeting is going to be talking particularly about sort of boundaries or talking about gender issues. So that if that's something that seems particularly relevant to you, you prioritise attending that one. That might be helpful from my perspective.
Following a conversation we had in the peer support group about outcomes and ground rules, one of the facilitators went back to the groups that they were involved in, and they undertook a piece of work together about the boundaries of that group and the outcomes that the group members wanted. It was really interesting to share ideas about the different approaches to facilitation. Some facilitators talked about visiting people at home and talking through the aims of the group before someone attends.
So much, Betty.
Well, I think, as I said earlier, that we do go out to see prospective members before they join the group. An example, we are very, very strict, as we will not let carers, family, friends attend our meetings.
Yeah.
So an example that the one person we didn't see was suggested he join our group from the memory clinic. We said okay, and he came with his son. and he got quite affronted when we said his son couldn't come in because we won't that it is just for people with dementia, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. So what do you do if someone doesn't seem like a good fit for your group?
We would recommend somewhere else. I mean, I said we're in Stoke-on-Trent, and there is another organisation called North Staff's Carers, which run groups for carers and people with dementia, and they do lots of activities. So we would signpost. Oh, we'd always signpost. So yeah, that's what we do. Yeah.
Other facilitators have open access for everyone and work to cope with different needs as they arise.
In terms of, there are some people that are stronger characters, and also there's people that have got more limited communication because of their dementia. So what we found has helped. We're lucky because there's two of us. So we always have somebody from the group chair in the meeting. So we're able to, at least one of us, sit with somebody who finds it more difficult, so that we can sort of one-to-one, and then it's easier for them because there's less pressure on them in terms of the whole group looking at them and waiting for them to say something or whatever. But I think that's something that we're learning more and more is important, because as our group's been going for quite a few years, so we found similarly that as people's dementia has progressed, if it's affected their communication, then they still need to be able to give their opinions to the group, and we've had to adapt to make sure that they can do that, and they've got the space and the time to be able to do that.
Yeah.
A diagnosis of dementia is not an automatic passport to getting along, and deep groups bring together diverse personalities. It takes time for relationships to develop, and a common theme in our pilot meetings was responding to different and challenging behaviours or personality clashes. While not one of us has all the answers, it was felt beneficial to have a space where we could share our experience and suggest ideas to each other about resolving problems.
Obviously, just because people have got a diagnosis of dementia doesn't mean they've actually got anything in common other than that.
Yeah, that's true.
It can be quite tricky at times, managing different personalities and trying to make sure that everyone gets an equal say, and sometimes it can go in a bit of a strange direction. So I think sometimes if you have got that sort of theme of sort of people with similar background or in a similar situation, it can be helpful in terms of being able to offer more practical support to one another.
Yeah.
It's ever evolving because of their dementia, but we're very keen to gain any new ideas from other people, because what's interesting at the moment is I think it's quite unusual, because if we have, as Jane said, 11 members, of those 11 members, 8 are men.
Yeah.
And we find that really unusual. We're just wondering if anybody else has the same gender, or just I suppose it's about gaining knowledge from others, isn't it?
Facilitators spoke about feeling lonely or isolated and enjoying the opportunity to talk in the meeting. The potential for a facilitator or a group buddy system across the network was also suggested.
I've managed to develop a good link with Pathways over in Bradford. So I think that kind of buddying system, linking up with another group, is very useful.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Another challenge was understanding and maintaining boundaries, especially when a facilitator was also a member of a group. We talked a lot about ensuring people were not taking calls late into the evening or responding to every request at their own expense, not just financially, but personally. Sometimes the deep group is the only place someone can focus just on themselves and their experience, without worrying about the experience of others around them or carers or other professionals. It would be useful to take time to share information about yourself and your group before joining a peer support meeting. But this could be done on a shared email or a Google form to save introductions taking too much time out of a meeting, which would generally last for around an hour. The pilot programme itself was time-bound for 8 weeks, and weekly meetings were hard for people to commit to, especially over the summer. We felt a monthly meeting would be ideal at a fixed time agreed by each group. People said they enjoyed the meetings and the chance to share using the Zoom platform, which was generally straightforward. But some participants, especially those calling from the NHS, couldn't easily access Zoom via the internet, and using the phone was found to be less satisfying. It really made a difference seeing each other and using the I Want to Speak cards. The next step is to establish our first virtual support group and offer another open invitation to any facilitator in the network.
You find your tribe in life, don't you?
Yeah.
Find your tribe, and that's no different if you've got dementia, that you need to find the people that get you.
Yeah.
To be able to
you do.
create
yeah.
that safe space and those strong relationships of support.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
Bye.